So, it's the first week of September, and don't we just know it? The temperature's dropped, I've got to put my coat on. I even had to put my thick winter socks on this morning just to walk the dog. Anyway, with it being the beginning of September, there's still a little thing of the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, which is just finishing. And Martin Colton, the host of the podcast at BTS Creative Academy, just returned from his very first year of going to Edinburgh Fringe, and I sat down briefly with him and asked him a few questions, and this is what he had to say.
My videos, I need to lose a little bit of weight. I'm getting a bit podgy around the stomach.
Well, that's because you're just sitting on your arse all day.
Well, I'm not. I'm on my feet. I only sit on my arse when I do the actual interviews.
Right.
So this is the factual one. This is Edinburgh Fringe by the numbers.
By the numbers. Okay.
By the numbers. We'll go into the spiritual one next because some of these things like link.
Okay.
When I say spiritual, I mean mind-opening, adventure. This is factual. Okay, so I went for seven nights. That was 8 days I was there. Okay, in that time I had 2 deep fried dishes. I had a deep fried pizza, which was absolutely disgusting. I don't see the point of it at all. It's basically a pizza base. Have you ever had it?
No.
No, it's basically the pizza base because the cheese evaporates. So there's no cheese left.
Oh.
So it's just like the base of the pizza, and any sauce that was on it was also evaporated in batter, and then they put mayonnaise on the top. And it was just, I had 2 bites and I was like, I can't do any more of that. However, the deep fried Mars bar, I can see why that's good. That was enjoyable. I had 6 iron brews in my time there, all of which really hurt my filling.
Oh, is that because it's got iron in it?
I don't think iron brew actually has iron in it, does it? But is it just the sugar concentration?
But isn't it made in Scotland from girders? So, otherwise that's false advertising.
Yes.
So who knows?
Who knows? But it hurt my filling. Okay. I had 6 of them. I was like,
hurt your filling or hurt your feelings?
A bit of both. I saw 23 shows.
Wow. 7 days.
Yeah, 23 shows in 7 days. I was booked into 30.
Right.
Out of them 23, 2 of them were unplanned.
Okay.
But I just couldn't make it to every show that I'd planned. The distance between going from one side of Edinburgh to the other side, and then talking to people afterwards, and bumping into people on the street, it was just impossible to do everything. So it was good going there with a plan, but I was very kind to myself in not getting frustrated that I didn't stick to it exactly as it had to be. Did 21 new podcast recordings, 21 conversations.
Wow. How long were the conversations?
Shortest one 20 minutes, longest one an hour and a half. So proper sit down conversations. Did 52 street interviews.
Wow.
So lasting for like 30 seconds to 3 minutes. 52. Now not every one of those 52 is usable, watching them back. Because it's me holding the camera in one hand, holding a microphone on the other. Sometimes the wind got too much. Yeah. Even though I've got good quality microphones, sometimes the wind there was just so strong that you can't hear a thing. So not all 52 are usable, but I got a lot of voices picked up, a lot of quality as well as not so much quality. So I'm still working my way through all the editing stuff. On average, my average daily steps was 25,000.
Okay.
Average daily.
That's good.
On the day that I went up off the seat, I did 40,000 on that day.
Lovely. Yeah. Very good. I bet your quads have felt that.
Well, this is the interesting thing, that whilst I was there, I did not feel tired at all. Not one bit. Like, I'd get up, I'd do the day. At the end of the day, I'd go back to my Airbnb and I'd sleep.
What time were you getting up in the morning?
I was getting up about 8, 9ish.
Right.
Going to bed about 12, 1ish.
Right.
Fairly long days.
Yeah.
But no tiredness. I think there was just some adrenaline pumping through my veins, or the northern fresh air was just fueling me through it. The minute I left the city and started heading back to the airport, I started to feel tired on that last day. We'll come back to that, the minute of leaving the city and how I felt tired in my next bit once we get past the numbers. So I did one hike up an extinct volcano, because Arthur's Seat is an extinct volcano. Countless new ideas. So all the time I was like, wow, I've got to make this note down, because I'm thinking of something new here, a new tangent on where things can go. Made quite a lot of new friends. Like genuine connections with people. Genuinely was out there, not just networking for business sake, but people I'm like, oh, I can call you a friend after this. Like, I'm interested to know what's going on in your life as you in mine, and yeah, quite a lot of new friends. So that was quite nice. And I met one old friend, which was very special as well.
Mr. Anderson.
To catch up with Mr. Anderson and have a drink with him and see how his life is going, and just catch up on old times. And to sound really corny, infinite amounts of gratitude. Because I wouldn't have done that journey without the support of all the people that backed me financially and morally as well. Like it's been good. I really do feel like I'm doing something where people have got my back, and that meant a lot.
What's your interview that you're most excited about people seeing?
There was value in every single conversation is different. I would say one of the ad hoc interviews that I did. So I was in an Airbnb that was south of the city, about a mile outside the city, in a place called Newington. And right next to my Airbnb, there was a shop called Words and Actions, and it was always closed, apart from one day. And I went in there, and they have artwork in there, and they have poetry that they do in there. They have music nights. So it's not really a shop. It's like a community place for people to come in. And they do a lot of political activism in there, like organisation for political activism. And I sat down with the woman that set up the shop, and it turns out she was born in the same year of the very first Fringe. And so she's lived through the entirety of the Fringe, for her entire life.
Wow.
So if anyone knows what the history of the Fringe looks like, she said she's seen the highs, she's seen the lows, she's seen it become great things, and she feels that it's in a place where it shouldn't be at the moment. She feels it's in a place where the big boys have taken over, the corporations. The money's going off to America, to production companies, where it's become commercialised. She feels it's no longer about the art. I disagreed in some way, being my first visit.
Yeah.
But it was interesting to hear her history of living her whole life there, and it being a massive part of her life.
Cool. So what do you think the title of that podcast is going to be?
Oh, well, that will be Words and Actions.
Words and Actions. So people need to keep an eye out for Words and Actions.
Keep an eye out for Words and Actions. That was a very informative conversation. But like I say, there was also a great conversation I had was with a comedian, Natasha Pell. I don't want to pronounce her surname wrong now. Hansen.
I don't have her name in front of me, so I can't correct you.
But Natasha, I had a wonderful conversation with her. Again, she was another conversation that wasn't pre-planned. It was just she did her stand-up set. Some things in her stand-up resonated with me, and I was like, I need to sit down and talk to this girl for a minute.
Right.
I need, she talked in her comedy set. She talked about her grandparents. She talked a lot about love and family, and I was like, yeah, I need to find out more about this person. And we did. We sat down for a good hour, and that was a great conversation as well. So there are two that stick out in my mind.
Were there any shows that you saw that you were like, oh damn, I wish I was part of that?
Trainspotting.
Trainspotting.
Yes.
Was that a new adaptation, or was that because there is an existing Trainspotting script?
Yeah, it didn't say a new adaptation. It was just Trainspotting. Oh, right, okay. Trainspotting live. The setup was you went into a rave with seats around the side, the minute you walked in the door, you were walking into a rave, and you took your seats, and the rave ended and the show started, and It was disgusting. It was dark. It was horrible. It made me feel uncomfortable. It was vile in parts, and it was everything train spotting should be. It starts off as a celebration of that lifestyle, of the drug taking and the drug use.
Mid-90s.
Yeah, the late 90s, and goes into how actually that's a nightmare type of lifestyle. It's not a celebration at all. And it's a show that I've always wanted to see. I love the film, and I know it was a stage show as well, and it was a book before it was a film or a stage show. And that was a piece that I watched and was like, yeah, if I was to be an actor, if I was to act, I would want to be in something like that. Something where those actors were engrossed in those parts. They lived those parts. And I didn't think about the world outside of there at all whilst the show was on.
Would you be tempted to take a show there yourself at some point?
100% I'll be there next year.
Oh, what, with the show?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, so not just interviewing. Would you still be doing...
I learned so much about taking a show there from going there. I'll be taking the podcast there as a podcast show, similar to the format that we did here. That will be happening. I would also be encouraging others to take shows there as well, with the knowledge that I've got. And I think I've seen ways in which you can make the Fringe successful, because I've seen how others have made it successful, and I've seen others how they've made unsuccessful.
Yeah.
I don't want to use the word failure because I don't like that word so much. I think it's got too much weight
well,
in
again,
it.
you know, go back to what Niall said. You know, what is success? How do you measure success?
Yeah. So there's an opportunity to learn something even in the failures.
Yeah.
And so being there for a week, I felt like I saw a lot of that, and I think there's a lot of opportunity there to do theatre, and I think it is very, very accessible as well, more accessible than I was led to believe. So yeah, so 2025, cool. I will be there in a few different capacities.
So how long have people got to wait to see these interviews on the BTS Creative Academy channels?
In fact, I think they start going up on the 1st of September. That was one of the things that I was upset with myself. My original plan was I would go and do the interviews, and that night I would upload them.
Because most of them are uncut anyway.
Yeah, it takes me about an hour to sort the video out, to upload it, to cut it in the way that it's cut at a very raw format. It takes about an hour each one, on average, I've kind of worked out, which isn't a huge amount of time. But when you do 3 in a day, plus you do all the mini interviews, plus you've got to then do all the SEO stuff for all of that as well. You're looking at each day, I could have been doing about 6 hours worth of work on the laptop, separate to being out there in the world capturing the interviews. And it just wasn't possible. Yeah. It just wasn't possible for me to do everything. So I had to sleep. I had to make that decision that sleep. Soft southerner. Yeah, that sleep had to happen. But I was getting out there every day at 8 a.m. I wasn't coming back till about 1 a.m. So I was out there for long days. Yeah. There was no room for doing any editing or any computer stuff in between, unfortunately. Cool.
So I'll be putting this on my Thompson Promotions socials. So just in case anybody who's looking at this hasn't heard of you, where can people find you?
It's the BTS Creative Academy. It's on everything, whether you look on Spotify, Apple, Amazon Podcasts, it's on the lot. You can't escape it, really. It's out there in the world. I didn't even get into the spiritual stuff.
We don't have time for that.
We don't have time for that.
We'll have another one.
We'll come back for part 2. But there's more to the journey. That's for sure. Cool. Thanks, Jim.
So if you want to find out what he had next to say, then please do come back and have a look at this page, and hopefully we'll see you again very, very soon.